As LALATE Evenings continues tonight, let's cut to the final 15 of the final 7 starting right now. Before this video, we were in the middle of Evenings LALATE and the video cut off, so we have 2 video files tonight. A lot of excitement, exciting details. Let's cut to the final 15 of the final 7 starting right now. First, the recon. Done deal. $3.5 trillion of checks are coming to the American people. This is incredible, great news. This is what Bernie Sanders said was a historic day for the American people. $3.5 trillion of checks are coming to you. When Bernie Sanders went into the meetings, he had asked for $7 trillion, and he got exactly 100% of all his programs paid for. This is what he asked for just in a shorter period of time, likely half the period of time, because 3.5 is half the amount of 7. Then, what are some of the provisions of the $3.5 trillion of checks? Well, the checks are all for you. Tons of checks across the board. First, free school meals for all, checks. Tax break, checks. Also, cheaper prescription medication, checks. Immigration reform, checks. Greener farming, checks. Money for election, checks. Then, internet checks across the board. Then there's clean energy checks. And finally, there is checks for you. Checks for my workers and also checks for my seniors. Checks for workers, checks for unions, checks for collective bargaining, and also checks for independent contractors. Then checks for my seniors. The recon of the $3.5 trillion has checks for seniors, like lowering the eligibility age, like dental checks, vision checks, and hearing care checks. And there you go. That's the recon. More about that in a second. Let's get over now to the roads and bridges. Over the last week, Chuck Schumer had 3 votes on the roads and bridges, the bipartisan, the last 2 passing, which said they're ready to go. Over the weekend, they finished the bill writing for the bipartisan for the roads and bridges. Now, why was Chuck talking so much about the roads and bridges over the last few days? Because it was dragging its feet. He was trying to get it going. But now we have confirmation. Number 1, Chuck Schumer has announced in the last 24 hours that both paths, the recon and the bipartisan, are going to the finish line and will be done by the August recess. Yes, and we also have confirmation. The recon is going for a vote first. Thank goodness. The confirmation started with the President of the United States, who spoke specifically about this, saying, you have to give me the recon and the bipartisan, both on my desk to sign, otherwise I'm not signing one by itself. He said the following, that if only one comes to me, and it's only one that comes to me, I'm not signing it. It has to be in tandem, 2 of them together. Then, when discussing whether one goes by itself, he said, no, I'm not just signing the bipartisan, the roads and bridges, and forgetting the rest of what I propose, the recon. I propose a significant piece of legislation in the recon, and both are equally important. Great news. Then, when we turn to Schumer, he confirms that the 2 paths will finish by the August recess. Wow. Let's go over that slowly. It is not just that it's going to start the voting process by the August recess. It's that it's going to be done by the August recess. Incredible, great news. More about that in a second. Also, Nancy Pelosi confirms that the recon is going for a vote first before the bipartisan. Bernie Sanders met with Nancy Pelosi in an emergency meeting last Thursday, and her confirmation was much the same. The recon goes first. What's at issue here is things coming from the Senate to the House. Bernie's in the Senate, Nancy's in the House, and she confirmed again. It starts in the Senate, and you must send me the recon in the House first. Quote, as I said, there won't be a bipartisan unless I get a recon bill first. Great news. Plain and simple. In fact, I use the word ain't. There ain't going to be a bipartisan unless I get the recon passed by the United States Senate first. Wonderful news there. Then Jalopal also confirms the same. Jalopal says we did a poll of our Democratic members of the House, and they said, the majority of them said, they are not going to vote for the bipartisan, the roads and bridges, without the recon. Incredible, great news. So to recap, the 2 paths are going to the finish line together. Leader Schumer's announcement is that they're both going to get done by the August recess. And get done means in law. He actually says they're going to get passed into law by the August recess. What is my opinion of the situation? Well, my opinion of the situation is, having seen first, second, and third stimulus, these legislators often do go a few days over a deadline. So I believe that they're going to go a few days into what would normally be the August recess and still get it done. But I don't think it's going to go a week overboard, and I don't think it's going to go a month overboard. I think it's just going to go a few extra days. I don't think they're going to get it done exactly by the August recess. Now, next, what's important for you to know is that the reason why Nancy Pelosi and Leader Schumer and Bernie and Jalopal all have your interests at hand is because the recon has to go for a vote first. There's only two people who determine when things are voted on, Nancy and Chuck. And Chuck is calling the recon for a vote first, and Nancy is calling the recon for a vote first in her place, the House. Additionally, what's important to know is that the recon is effectively done because all those Democratic caucus members have met twice and agreed, yes, even her, that they're doing the $3.5 trillion. So this is incredible great news. The next thing you need to know is what happens when the bill gets debuted. Well, when the recon gets debuted on the Senate side, that's where it's going to start, you're going to see a bill. Before that, we have an emoji for it, not bill yet. But once you see the bill, we also have an emoji, not law yet. This is so critically important. So I'm going to go over this slowly. You have to understand that when you see that recon debut in the Senate, it's not a law. It's a proposal, and it will get modified. Now, normally we say all legislation gets modified when it goes through two branches of government. This is starting the Senate, going over to the House, then potentially back to the Senate. But guess what? This situation is a little bit different. Why? Because we already know it is getting modified. Senate Democrats and House Democrats have both come out and said, we're modifying the recon when we get it. Because why? The recon has been written by House subcommittee members who are not a lot of members. They're just a few people. They've had their hands on it, modifying, changing words over the last few weeks. And the Senate Democrats, who are 50, and the House Democrats, who are over 100, have said, I haven't had my hands on the bill. I'm elected to modify and write legislation. And until I get it, I haven't done anything on it. And when I get it, I'm modifying it. They are modifying it, which is great news for you, Purple Power, because ultimately what's important for you to know is that the legislation will likely be imperfect in some regard. And when you see that recon bill on the Senate side, it's not law yet. There's full room to modify it. Contact your senators, Democrats, House members. Say, get this done, get that done, whatever you need to say, because remember, the purple push down to the finish line is a critical push. They always modify things in those final few days. In second stimulus, in third stimulus, amounts went up, amounts went down. Things came out, things went in. Eligibility expanded, eligibility shrunk by the hour. They want to hear from you because ultimately they have your interests in hand. Next, let's go over something that is very interesting, but only an opinion. My opinion, I think Nancy Pelosi, I think the progressives, and I think that Maxine Waters and others will put in a modification to the recon of the eviction moratorium. They have been very vocal, as I was very vocal last Saturday, about the inability of this president to take care of the eviction moratorium. His response is do it by legislation. The question is where and when. That's what Nancy said. There's no legislation to write. We're not going to pass anything. The only place we can get it is at this recon. So I think that it makes sense for Nancy, the progressives, and the House to get the eviction moratorium into the recon, which won't take a lot more time, but I think it is a worthy effort to try to put it in there. Additionally, there's a reason why I record over the weekends, because there's always something breaking. Last weekend I said to you, stay with me all weekend long because there's going to be a lot of breaking news, and I'm not going to repeat myself, and sometimes these things come up and you know they're going to be a whammo. What was the whammo for the roads and bridges? It was Kristen Sinema's insertion of a cryptocurrency regulatory provision. When I first heard it on Friday night, everyone said, what? Yeah, it sounded like it was first gossip, but it wasn't. It was actually in there. It was confirmed. And immediately the Blockchain Association came out against it. I came out against it. This channel came out against it. And I said by Monday morning when the broadcast media are back in the studio, Unlike myself, that records all weekend long, LA records all weekend long, when the two competitors of broadcast financial news channels are back in the studio, they're going to run this as a front page story. And they did. That a crypto regulatory provision is in the Roads and Bridges infrastructure bill. And it was not well received. There were Republicans and there are Democrats that both have crypto positions. They like crypto, and they don't like a regulatory provision added into an infrastructure bill. They're not against regulatory provisions, but certainly not here, and certainly not on a Friday before you're about to vote on the bill just a few days later after the weekend. It's a little bit cloak and daggerish, and it's not sitting well. Finally, it's important for you to know that there's fortunes of money in this recon, $3.5 trillion of checks. And if you've seen the big success stories across the land with the viewers that are getting $32,000 from third stimulus, well, get ready. Because when fourth stimulus becomes law, $3.5 trillion of checks will be in there as well for you. And it's important for you to understand that all the money that is detailed on this channel is 99% of the time money that qualifies for you. On Mornings LA and at Noontime LA, some people today were saying, well, the rent, I'm on SSI, I don't know if I qualify. Yeah, you do. The utilities, I don't know, I'm on SSDI, I don't know if I qualify. Yeah, you do. All these things I generally go over, I always say, this is for you. If it's only for children, I'll say it's only for children. But that's third stimulus, we're on to fourth stimulus. There's a fortune of money in this fourth stimulus for you, $3.5 trillion of checks, but it may still be imperfect. And so as we go over the finish line, as we go into these final 7 days or 5 days, we got to push purple power. And with that, sorry for this sort of double dose or two-part version of Evenings LA tonight. If you did not catch what happened, there was 2 parts of this Evenings LA tonight because the video turned off midstream at the 30-minute mark. The first part is 30 minutes, and this is the 10-minute part that goes after it. If you missed the 30-minute, it's on the channel right before that. And with that, I look forward to seeing you on Overnight's Crypto and then Sirloin at 8 o'clock. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of the channel. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video to 3,000 likes and consider becoming a member. Stay informed, stay focused. Have a beautiful evening. I'll see you next on Overnight's Crypto and then Sirloin. Stay informed, stay focused. Please don't turn off on me again, the camera. It almost turned off again. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.